Welcome into our big lab. We are in the process of configuring Joe's network for him. I've got all the routers started up, and the only thing that I've done is I've configured what will be the internet connection on this HQ router. You'll notice that Fast Ethernet 00 has an IP address of 172.18.4.1. When we get to the NAT verification phase of this little lab, this internet machine out here will be powered on, and it will have an IP address of 172.18.4.10. And so long as we can ping that .10 address from this client workstation down here in the R&D network, then we'll be good. So here's our notepad where we've gotten all of our networks down. So the first thing we're going to do is configure the HQ network. So we're going to configure all of these addresses on loopback interfaces, just so we don't have to have a whole bunch of these Ethernet switch devices out here in GNS3. This lab's already pretty complex as it is without having more connections flying all over the place. And the loopback interfaces can be advertised into RIP just as easily as anything else. They work very well for our lab scenario. So let's go up here to the HQ router and let's configure this address, the .1 address for this network on the loopback interface. So we'll do config T, we'll do interface LO10, we'll do IP address 192.168.10, isn't it? .10.1. with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. And for no shut for good measure, we'll go ahead and write the config just because we're a little paranoid here. So now if I were to do show IP interface brief, we now have 192.168.10.1 and it's up on this router. While we're up here in the HQ router, let's go ahead and configure the first two point-to-point connections, because obviously the first two will be from HQ to sales and from HQ to R&D, and then we have a redundant link between sales and R&D just in case one of these main links goes down. That way you can still have a fully routed network no matter which link is down. So let's look up here on the HQ in the topology summary. So serial 0 goes to sales and serial 1 goes to R&D. So let's go back in here and do config T interface serial 0/0. We'll put a description to sales. We'll do IP address 192.168.13.1, 255, 255, 255, 252, and we'll do no shut, and we'll do interface serial 0/1, description to R and D, IP address 192.168.14.1, 255, 255, 255, 252. Can't have a 3 in the subnet mask. We'll do a no shut on this guy as well. So we'll write the config. You'll notice that the line protocols are down on our serial interfaces because the other end hasn't been configured. The other end of the serial link is down. As we bring up the sales and R&D serial interfaces here in just a bit, we'll see those interfaces come up. So now if we do show IP interface brief, there's all of the IP addresses configured on the HQ router. So now I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm going to do a show run. I'm going to copy out parts of the running config for this loopback interface. So interface loopback 10 and that IP address there. And I'll open up another notepad and paste that in there. It's all about reusing the code, so we'll just keep this up here. So now we can very easily configure the loopback interface over here on sales. So we'll do config T, and the sales network will be 11.0 with a 224 subnet mask. So let's go in here and do 11 and put a .224 at the end. Copy all of this to the clipboard, paste it in here, and now that loopback interface is configured. So now let's configure the serial interfaces over here on the sales router. So let's go up here and look at sales. 0 goes to HQ and 1 goes to R&D. So we'll do interface serial 0/0, description to HQ. We'll do IP address, and let's look back at HQ and do show interface serial 0/0, see what address we gave it. So it's in the .13 network, so it needs to be 13.2. So IP address 192.168.13.2, 255, 255, 255, 252. No shut on that guy. So we should see the serial link come up on both ends here in just a little bit. While we're at it, we'll do interface serial 01, description 2 R&D. And this is the third point-to-point network, so this will be 192.168.15.0. So we'll use the 15.1. We'll do IP address 192.168.15.1, 255, 255, 255, 252. And we'll do no shut on this guy. So now we have the sales router and the HQ router configured. In the next video, we'll pick up with our router configuration and we'll configure R&D. We'll make sure that all the routers can ping one another on their directly connected interfaces.